so what I want to do is be able to see a triad here. So if I treat the F as the root, and I just write a triad even as a seventh chord, I get an F, A, C, and E. So I don't get that G anywhere. If I try to make G the root, even using a seventh chord, I get a G and an F, but I don't get that C. So there's no, and we know if we use C as a root, it looks just like that. So there's no way to get that into a predictable triad, right? So what we could do is leave off a note. Let's just leave off a note for a second. We'll come back to the left off note. I can come close to getting into a triad by calling it a C major chord without a third. I can use the C and the G, and there's no E in it, right? Or I could call it an F and a C with no third in it. That gets me the F and the C. G, calling G the root doesn't really get me anything except a seventh, which I don't think it doesn't sound like a seventh, so we're not going to call it that. So, at this point, we get into something called suspended chords, which is what I think our real answer is here. So what's happening here is that it is, in my opinion, this chord, a C chord, but instead of an E that would be predicted to make it a C major chord, we've raised that by a half step up to make an F where we ought to have an E. So we call that a suspended chord. It's a whole new kind of chord that we haven't looked at yet. It's got a cool sound. Stick with me on that one. We're going to encounter these chords soon. But what it basically means is a suspended chord means that you have either a fourth, the interval of a fourth, which is what we have here, or sometimes it can be done with the interval of a sixth, like that. So you would call that a suspended six, is what you would call this, and you call this one a suspended four. And you abbreviate that SUS. So a suspended four, meaning the third of the triad is raised to be a fourth. And it makes this cool sound like that. Let me give that to you one more time. Right? It's kind of a cool sound. So that's what we've got going here, is a C sus. So sus, S-U-S, is short for suspended. C sus 4.